Hi, everybody, and welcome again to Esoteric Studies with Soma. I try to make things as simple as possible when it comes to spirituality, although I am reading books that are quite difficult to understand because they use Vedic terminology and words in Sanskrit. Now, for those of you who don't know, I have a background in Eastern philosophy and I have lived as a nun for 10 years, studying Sanskrit and the philosophy of Bhakti. Bhakti means love of God. Big subject, I know. Anyway, today it's part 2 in the series of Introduction to Tantra scriptures. And this I want you to enjoy. I don't want you to think too much. I want you to just listen, be satisfied and happy, because this is not a dogmatic message. It's simply a little bit of sunshine in your life. So I am going to read from the second chapter called Shiva and Shakti. Maybe you have heard about the two. Actually, I can tell you a little bit about Shiva now. Shiva is the stable principle. Shakti is the kinetic principle. Yin and yang. Masculine, feminine. God and the creation. And we are not separated from God. That's why I use the word God. Not that I understand God to be separated. Okay. Relax, enjoy. And whenever there comes a difficult word, don't worry, I will explain it. Shiva and Shakti. That eternal, immutable existence which transcends the Turiya and all other states in the unconditioned absolute, the supreme Brahman or Para-Brahman, without Prakriti, Nishkala, or her attributes, Nirguna, which, as being the inner self and knowing subject, can never be the object of cognition and is to be apprehended only through yoga by the realization of the self, Atmagyana, which it is. Okay, I'm so sorry. That was a very difficult sentence, I know. And there really isn't any point for me to go into detail with every word because it becomes too mental, right? So just enjoy. Even though you don't understand everything, I will make a little bit of a summary in the end. Being beyond, as it is said, spirit can alone know spirit. Being beyond the mind, the speech, and being without name, Brahman was called Tat. Tat, and then Tat Sat. That which is. I am who I am. For the sun, moon, and stars, all invisible things and visible things, what are they but a glimpse of light caught from that Tat? So everything is immersed in Brahman. Everything is spiritual energy, right? So Brahman is both Nishkala and Sakala. It means that it is full of qualities and it is devoid of qualities. It's just a philosophical understanding of things, analysis. Kala is Prakriti, Prakriti means material nature. The Nishkala Brahman or Para-Brahman is the Tat when thought of as without Prakriti. Okay, this is too difficult. Stop it. It is called Sakala when with Prakriti. As the sustenance of Prakriti is the three gunas. Okay, that I can explain. The three gunas are the three qualities. Goodness, sattva, which is, the balanced life, the healthy life, the beautiful life, where you don't mind to suffer in the beginning to enjoy in the end. Like, for example, you want to become a doctor, you have to go to the school and suffer through studies for years and years. That takes discipline, meaning you are in the mood of goodness, sattva gun. And then there is Rajagun, which is like, oh, I want to have sense enjoyment immediately. Typically is if you want to eat too much and you become fat and unhealthy. That is not good. And even worse than that is ignorance, pure ignorance, which is tamagun, where you are like hating yourself, taking drugs, and being arrogant towards others. So those are the three gunas. It is then saguna, as in the previous state, it was nirguna. So saguna means all and nir means none. Though in the latter state, it is thought of as without Shakti. Yeah. Yet making accommodation to human speech. The thing is that the book here is so difficult, and still in the book it said that we have to speak like this in order to make it simple for humans to understand. Can you imagine how more advanced people were past civilizations before us in the real Aryan times? My God. Pop culture minolaiki. In it potentially exists Shakti, which is the feminine aspect of God, the creative aspect. Its power and the whole universe produced by it. To say, however, that the Shakti exists in the Brahman is but a form of speech. Since it and Shakti are in fact one, and Shakti is eternal. Anadi Rupa. Rupa means form. She is Brahma Rupa and both Viguna, Nirguna and Saguna, the Chaitanya Rupini Devi who manifests all Bhuta. Yeah. It is difficult to understand God. Don't expect me to make a perfect description. You have to simply understand that you are God. And you have to resonate with things that according to you feel good, that sits good with you, because you have to respect yourself. That is the beginning of self-realization. She is the Ananda Rupini Devi by whom the Brahman manifests itself. Yeah, now here it's explained about the creation, that the Brahman, the spiritual substance that absorbs everything, comes from Shakti, Ananda Rupini Devi, and who, to use the words of the Sharada, pervades the universe as does oil the sesame seed. Right. In the beginning, the Nishkala Brahman alone existed. You see, they need to use all of these different words in order to understand things mentally. It's not necessary to understand Sanskrit in order to understand God. You can feel God, who you are, inside. You don't need to study, you don't need to understand Sanskrit, you don't even need to be very intellectual. Of course not. Actually, it's an advantage to be simple but pure hearted. That's all it takes. Love is very simple. In the beginning, there was the One with a big O. It willed and became many. Interesting. Aham bahu syam. May I be many. In such manifestation of Shakti, the Brahman is known as the lower, apara, or manifested Brahman. These are just power of perspectives, points of perspectives. Point of views. That's it. It's just words, right? Yes, who, as the subject of worship, is meditated upon with attributes. Yeah, and in fact, to the mind and sense of the embodied spirit, the jiva, the human being, the Brahman has body and form. It is embodied in the forms of all devas and devis, and in the worshipper himself. Its form is that of the universe and of all things and beings therein. Yes, of course. God is the unmanifested and the manifested. We are God and we are not God because we are covered by illusion when we have forgotten who we are. So everything is God, but that doesn't mean that everything remembers that we are God. You know what I mean. As the scriptures say, he thought to himself, may I be many. So he said, Sa Aikshata was itself a manifestation of Shakti, the Parampurva Nirvana Shakti. Or Brahman as Shakti. From the Brahman with Shakti, Parashakti Maya, Maya is just another form, it's just another name of the matrix, a different layer. So from that issued Nada, Shiva Shakti as the word or sound. Sounds familiar, right? This is the same as it says in the Bible. And from Nada, from the word, Bindu appeared. So Bindu, I don't know everything, of course, and I don't know every Sanskrit word, but if I remember correctly, Bindu is that point of oneness in creation from which creation starts. Kalicharana, in his commentary, okay, that's an author, on the Sat Chakra Nirupana, says that Shiva and Nirvana Shakti, bound by a Mayic bond, an illusory bond, and covering, should be thought of as existing in the form of Parambindu. Yes, that is also Tantra because you have to have the tension between two opposites in order for creation to exist. The Sharada says, Satchit Ananda Vibhavat Shakalat Parameshvarat Asichaktistato Nado Nadad Bindu Samud Bhava. That's Sanskrit. Meaning, from Parameshvara vested with a wealth of indistinct sound arose. Indistinct sound, okay? Now, sound is arising from this. Interesting. I remember when I was very young, I had this mental sound appearing of a flute mid-air in space. And I immediately knew that creation is founded upon sound. Shiva appears as sound. This sound is both the first and the last state of nada, according as it is viewed from the standpoint of evolution or involution. For nada, as Raghavabhatta, another philosopher, says, exists in 3 states. In nada are the gunas, as we spoke about before, goodness, passion, ignorance, sattva, rajas, and tamas, which form the substance of prakriti, material nature, which with Shiva it is. When tamagun predominates, ignorance, nada is merely an indistinct or unmanifested sound in the nature of dvani, dvanyatmako vyaktanada. So, when the ignorance predominates, nada is merely an indistinct or unmanifested sound in the nature of dvani. In this state, in which it is a phase of avyaktanada, it is called nibodhika or bodhini. It is nada when... Okay, nu kommer vi in här på... I'm sorry, now I speak Swedish. Now we're coming into how sound appears, how Shiva appears with Shakti when in Rajagun, which is the mood of passion. It is nada when Rajagun is in the ascendant, when there is a sound in which there is something like a connected or combined disposition of the letters. Okay? This is difficult even for me to understand. When the sattva gun, which is the mood of goodness, predisponates, you mean, nada, assumes the form of bindu. Okay, that must mean the manifested sound of creation. The action of passion on ignorance is to veil. Yeah, of course, matrix is a convoluted illusion. Of course, it's a temporary state that we identify ourselves with the body and our circumstances and our family and blah, blah, blah. And therefore it is the purpose of the manifestation, the creation, to veil our consciousness. We cannot remember that we are God and be in this matrix at the same time, unless we choose to be self-realized, as I have. Then it's no problem. There is a problem, of course, to deal with people that doesn't understand that they are God, because it's so different frequencies. But otherwise, it's no problem for the individual that wants to reach self-realization, if he does it scientifically and carefully. I will not continue this much longer. Don't bother. Don't worry. Its own independent action affects an arrangement which is only perfected by the emergence of the essentially manifesting sattvika gun set into play by it. Okay. Nada, Bindu, and Nibodhika, and the Shakti, of which they are the specific manifestation, are said to be in the form of sun, moon, and fire, respectively. Jnana, spiritual wisdom, is spoken of as fire, as it burns up all actions, and ignorance, tamagun, as is associated with it. For when the For when the effect of cause and effect of action are really known, then action ceases. Yeah, so when you gain knowledge, you understand that you can relax. And even though your body is performing so many tasks and upholding so many duties, you know that everything happens according to divine intelligence. Ichicha, no, Ichcha is the moon. The moon contains the 16th digit, the Amakala, with its nectar, which neither increases nor decays. And Ichsha, or will, is the eternal precursor of creation. Exactly. The thoughts are creating, right? So there is a where there is a will, there is a way. We have to understand ourselves and the creation as one. It's the same. We are God. Kriya is like sun. Why does it say like sun? Isn't it sun or what? Kriya is like sun, for as the sun by its light makes all things visible. So, unless there is action and striving, there cannot be realization or manifestation. Right? That's true, of course. As now, final sentence of today. As the Bhagavad Gita says, a very old book, as one sun makes manifest all the lokas. Okay. I will not pretend to say that this is a simple subject. It isn't. You know? It's damn difficult with all these Sanskrit words and esoteric knowledge about creation and God and femininity and masculinity, but we don't have to take it so seriously, you know? Just accept that people in the past, they were so much more advanced than us in this pop culture of ours. and be who you are, always. If you resonate with this message, please subscribe and like. I'll be back. Ciao.